Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session. We have today Keren Arazi with us to talk about the high-tech culture at Storemaven. Hi, Karen. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking your time off. I would like to first give the introduction about her. As a head of HR, she serves as a partner in achieving Storeman's business strategy, supporting the team's growth, engagement, high performance, and retention. She uses her creative energy to create fulfilling and memorable employee experience. Karen, would you like to tell us more about it? The stage is
Sure.
yours.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm Keren Arazi. Thank you for having me. And I would be happy to share more with you about Storemaven and about high-tech culture. I began my career in high-tech about 8 years ago, and I've worked in a number of high-tech organizations in Israel, including one of the largest high-tech organizations called NICE, as well as an organization called Payoneer, which I joined when there were about 400 people in the office, and today there are close to 2,000. And today I work at a startup company called Storemaven that I'd be happy to tell you more about. But before I do, I wanted to share more about what is the status of the high-tech ecosystem in Israel. I'm not sure how many people in the audience are in Israel or not, but something really exciting is happening in Israel these days around high tech. If you've been following the news, then you might have seen the boom of companies going public in Israel in the past few years, especially this year in 2021. So something really significant is happening. So I want to talk about what that is in numbers, what that means, and also kind of explain why at this stage joining a startup might be a really interesting opportunity for someone looking to get into a new opportunity in the high-tech ecosystem. So I just gathered a few numbers. I'll share my screen and show you some basic details. I won't take too much time around what it means to be in the startup ecosystem these days in Israel. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so a few details, high tech in just quick numbers about what's happening in Israel. So according to the Ministry of Economy, Tel Aviv's high-tech ecosystem is ranked first outside of the United States. That's incredible. Israel and Tel Aviv especially is described as Silicon Wadi. So there's huge opportunities in an extremely small location in Israel. And we are reaching clients around the world. We've actually passed by double approximately the number of international clients we're reaching compared to companies based in Silicon Valley. What used to happen in Israel was that companies, even in the last 10 years, would work very hard to create a great minimum value proposition, a great idea or concept, build it up, and then sell it and exit in order to make some significant amount of money. But what's happened in the last 2 years is that many Israeli companies are actually growing in Israel, remaining in Israel, and actually going public from here and maintaining their headquarters in Israel. So a big shift happened in the industry in recent years. So 2020 was the start of when many companies started to go public in Israel. That's when the numbers really began to take off. And even since 2020, today in 2021, numbers are already up about 184% from last year. And there's already been about 417 IPOs in 2021, which is incredible. So a huge increase compared to 2020, almost 100, more than 100%. I am not here to knock working in high-tech companies that are large, just because I'm speaking about the startup atmosphere. there are a lot of benefits to working in larger high-tech companies that I benefited from. I worked in larger high-tech companies before moving to a startup ecosystem. So there's huge benefits. I'm just naming a few, but one of the benefits is that if you're coming in at entry level, you can benefit a lot from working across from many professional colleagues who can teach you and build you up and expose you to the right best practices for whatever career you're undertaking. There's huge scale already, sometimes thousands of customers, and a lot of space to maneuver. If something goes wrong, you're still okay as a company. You have a huge investment usually by the company in its team. So as you're building up your skills, you might be able to access a lot of mentoring or classes or workshops or other things that help build you up to be the best version of your professional self. And the company has product market fit. So there's a lot of stability. There's no chance, hopefully, that things will go poorly and that the company will eventually shut down, which is worst case scenario. Startup companies are different. So in a startup company, like the one where I work, there's huge opportunities for major benefits, but there's also, it's very high stakes. There's many, many rewards to be had if things go really well. And that's how a lot of the companies that are IPOing today, this is how they all started, as smaller startups where people took a chance and joined, and the benefits that they reaped were very significant. In a startup environment, your decisions are impactful. You're at the table with senior leadership dealing with the most pressing business issues. So you are not part of a small part of a big machine. You are the machine, and you are making the most significant decisions for your company's future. You have visibility into so many things taking place. You'll experience the highest highs and the lowest lows. So you will, when you close a deal, it means everything. And when you lose a deal, it can mean everything, but you get to experience that and be hands-on. And if you make the right bet, like many people did in the last years in Israel, then you can turn dollars into millions by joining at the right stage. So there's huge opportunities, and many people actually became from $1 to millionaires in the last few years, which is incredible. And the appeal of joining a company like that is huge, but there's also a very healthy ecosystem of startup companies that are just on their way to that type of growth, and that you can join and also experience that kind of growth and excitement and benefit as these companies grow and succeed as well. So the question is, how do you make the right bet? How do you know which company to join? The things that I recommend and that I can say I did my homework around when I joined Storemaven was, what's very important is to find a great product. You need to make sure that what the company is selling is a great product. And you can do that by understanding how many customers the company is working with, what is the retention rate of those customers, what does it actually do, what problems does it solve, what does the competition in the market look like. So making sure that you've got a company that's got a great product is very significant, since you'll be pouring a lot of your energy into building it, marketing it, selling it, whatever it is. Look for great experienced founders and colleagues. So in this company, there are 3 co-founders who already started companies in the past. They're very young, and they've managed to be very successful already. And the colleagues in this company that I work with have come from experience and great rich backgrounds also. So you know that you're working alongside great people who have the experience and the skills needed to be successful. You need a great culture. When you're working in a startup environment, you're going to spend a lot of hours working very closely with a lot of people. So you want to make sure that the people you're going to be living and breathing next to are going to be a lot of fun and bring great positivity to the work environment. And you need to look for a role where you can shine. There's much less resources when working in a startup environment. So you want to make sure that you have the skills in order to build things sometimes from the ground up. Okay, so I'm just going to pause and ask if anyone has any questions before I continue chatting. Does anyone have any questions? You can add them in the conversations. Work permits, we're not currently offering any work permits, unfortunately. And we're currently only based in Israel, but I do expect that to change in the future. The majority of our customers are in Silicon Valley, actually, but they're not only in Silicon Valley. And so we'll likely be opening offices in the near future in other parts of the world. And so working in Israel and being present is important. Okay, so with regards to job opportunities in Israel, it's a good question. So in a startup environment, like I said, it's really important to come with the right skills in order to be able to build things from the ground up. And so in a startup environment, generally, teams are looking for individuals who have experience to come in and help build from the ground up the foundations of the different departments. And oftentimes we understand that what we're looking for is not necessarily someone who's come out of a larger environment and a big company where many things are done by large teams of people, but instead by finding the person who has had some experience and brings huge creativity and a desire to enhance their knowledge. And so what we try to do at Storemaven is to find people with that curiosity and that hunger in order to find the answers for themselves once they're in the company. So we've actually developed a very unique hiring process. We've partnered with a company called Leonardo or Leonard. The name, by the way, reflects that the way that we hire people is not using a traditional CV. We're actually looking for unique job skills, unique abilities that can't be reflected in a CV. It has to do with your hunger and your positivity and your search and desire for learning. So we've actually developed a system to try to understand those things from our candidates without asking for a CV, without trying to understand what it means that they worked in this company for that many years. So I'm going to share my screen again. So that you can see what our unique application process looks like. So again, right now we're looking for team members who are based in Israel to join us, who have work permits. And if someone is interested in learning about the unique opportunities at Storemaven, then they can come to our jobs page, which is a job simulator. Again, we're not looking for traditional CVs. We're looking for people who are hungry, who are curious. And so we are hungry and curious as well. We're looking to do something a bit different from what companies traditionally do to find talent. So as you can see here on the Storemaven jobs page, you can simply Google Storemaven jobs or careers. You can find all of our open positions here. And if you click on one, you can see more information about the role. You can get a sense of what a typical day would look like, what the different requirements are for the position, and what is this role actually responsible for. And then you can also learn more about the company, the leadership, the values. These are values that are very unique to working in a startup atmosphere. So being autonomous, being able to do things independently is very important in a startup environment compared to maybe a more established company. Remaining calm in a startup environment, especially when there's so much at stake, being able to remain calm and make thoughtful decisions is so important. Always learning, original life. So again, if you read through what these things refer to, what these values refer to, then you'll understand why they're so important to a startup environment. You can see more information about the culture that we try to establish. These are all things, again, that are very important to look for when you're looking for a startup opportunity. Psychological safety, interestingly, was found to be one of the most important things for people to feel motivated and comfortable and confident in doing their work. So feeling that you have control, that you are not scared of bringing new ideas or failing. So this is something that people really look for in a workplace. So we did a poll to understand what people's experiences were of psychological safety in our company. Excuse me. And now back to the idea of the unique process. So what we have created is a unique way to apply for an opportunity at Storemaven. So you can see that there's no CV needed. You can drop in a CV if you'd like, but the alternative is to submit your talent so that you can see what it's like to work in this job. And also we can see what kinds of hunger and curiosity and creativity you can bring to the position. So instead of submitting a CV, you have the opportunity to submit your talent. So why am I sharing all of this? The reason is to just emphasize the difference between a startup environment and a more established company. In a startup environment, you have the opportunity to come in and build things from the ground up. And it's less about bringing all of those years of experience sometimes, and more about being very flexible and creative and driven, and that's how you can really achieve something great with a small team. Okay, so I'm going to stop now for a moment just to see if there's any questions or if Urvashi wants to ask anything.
Yes, I've just gathered a couple of questions. So the next question, I don't know if you have already answered this, but it's what's the best attribute of the Storemaven?
The best attribute. So I would say that the things that I mentioned actually in my slides about the product to market fit, the culture, those things are fantastic in Storemaven. So the company was, like I said, founded by 3 co-founders who started several companies in the past that were very successful. And within Storemaven, we're working with some of the biggest companies in the world. So our product really shows us the success that we have with it, that it's really, really valuable to the companies that we work with. We work with Airbnb, TikTok, Uber, Tinder, Facebook, Warner Brothers, Disney, and many other really well-known, recognized enterprise companies. And we serve as their strategic partners. So understanding that our product is successful and that customers are retained year over year, continue using our product, really gives the team the comfort of knowing that this product is really valuable, and as we grow, it'll bring value to more and more customers, and we'll be able to grow with that.
Cool. Thank you so much. The next question is, how can you make the right bet when choosing a startup?
Sure. So
yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, finding that great product, finding a culture where people are comfortable and confident in taking risks and not being punished for mistakes, finding people that you enjoy working next to every day, are, I think, the most important things. It's a gamble every time. You never know what's going to happen with your startup. Some can IPO in 5 years and be worth billions, which we've seen in Israel, and some will not succeed. And then you can look at those opportunities as a great experience, a learning lesson. No experience, I think, is a bad one in that sense. And you'll know what to look for in the next job. But like I said, looking for the product and the culture and the leadership in a startup company, those are really, really significant.
Cool. Thank you. The next question is again regarding the startup, which is, what are the most business domains that the most of the startup are focused on?
So in Israel, I would say that a lot of the startups are high-tech startups. So they're focused on providing value, technological value. It could be in any domain, really. It could be like our domain, which is mobile growth, which is pretty unique, to fintech companies, to food tech companies. There's a huge range, but all of them share that commonality, which is that they're tech companies.
Okay. Yeah, we have We have a couple of more questions, but I think we are running out of the time. So we have to end the session here. I would like to thank you, first of all, for spending a lot of time with us, giving a very deep and detailed, informative talk, and also to everyone who had patience enough to hear from us. And I'm sure that this was very, very helpful for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.